Good evening. I'm just going to wait for a couple people to hop on. It's pretty late, but we'll see. Sorry, I was pulling up a video and I didn't want you guys to hear it, the ad. It was so loud. So hopefully everybody can hear me now. Hi, Siobhan. Hi, Angela. Hi, Sandy. We'll see if Ginger hops on tonight because I would love to hear her opinion on something. So for the sake of, I know that Siobhan it's like the middle of the night going into morning. So I think I'm going to start with Elijah's case first before we get into Sebastian. Because there have been a few people that were kind of out of the loop on what happened, or maybe they didn't get through the stream of, or the video where I talked about what happened in court. So Katrina Bauer, Elijah Vu's mom, was supposed to be in court on the 25th. Yeah, I believe it was 25th. Anyway, she was supposed to be there for her plea, okay? And instead, yet again, her attorney asked for an adjournment. And let me just make sure I'm giving you guys all the information of what day happened, because it was before the actual hearing. So yes, on the 22nd. Okay, so she was supposed to appear on the 25th. On the 22nd, the defense attorney, Ann Larson, sent the judge a letter requesting an adjournment. Okay, and that was kind of like, I saw it like almost the moment it hit the circuit court. So anyways, what could that be? Well, my initial theory was she's not going to take the plea. And it seemed like from the beginning, she really didn't want to take the bait. She didn't want to take the plea. And she had to be like really massaged into considering taking the plea. However, that doesn't, just because there was the adjournment did not mean that she still couldn't take the plea. Although I believe there was a deadline on that plea, not that we've seen it. Now, the consensus, of course, across the board is, oh, she's just delaying things. She's still going to take the plea. Well, there's been a new development. I'm not an attorney. However, they then scheduled it for a scheduling conference on July 23rd. There was a scheduling conference for August 5th. Typically, when there's a scheduling conference, it is actually more related to scheduling all of the dates related to an actual trial. Not to say it couldn't be a 5-minute hearing to say, okay, Attorney Larson, when is your client ready to take the plea? And then we'll set dates for the pre-sentence investigation and the sentencing date. But I still was not on board with thinking she is going to take this plea. Again, this is my thoughts. Then, yesterday, there was a file with the court, a petition for appointment of counsel, and attached to that was an affidavit of indigency. You know what I mean? Basically, can't afford an attorney. I'm broke letter. And it had an attachment of a letter to attorney Kirk Obear. Now, hello, Miss Melody. Who is that? Well, a prominent Wisconsin defense attorney. What does this mean? We're not entirely sure yet what this means. And I haven't seen the actual petition, but in my opinion, this is an attempt to change attorneys and go forward to trial. And that would make sense, because if the defense attorney and their client aren't meshing, but there are steps that have to come before that. So, Ann Larson could be possibly seeking co-counsel for the trial. Seems like a pretty hefty request for charges that would probably get your client very little time in jail. So the defendant could have filed this herself. And if she did, he is, but so Sandy was just commenting that he's expensive. He is, and she's, filing the document that basically she's poor, and it is possible for someone who's not a public defender to represent somebody at a reduced rate, being still paid for by the court if all the other attorneys can't possibly add to their caseload. And I find it hard to believe that there are no public defenders in Manitowoc County that can handle a case that, if she was charged with the disappearance of Elijah, okay, this would make more sense. But under the charges, we've discussed them a few times and what the penalties are, and her lack of a prior record with similar charges, this is a reach, in my opinion, to ask them to, the county and the state taxpayers, to foot the bill for a fancy private attorney, because under these charges, it just doesn't make sense to me. It's not adding up. So I have a couple theories. The one is, I don't think she's going to take this existing plea deal that's been out there since April. I do think she wants to take it to trial. And it does not say that Ann Larson filed those forms, the defense attorney that she currently has. So arguably, she could have filed them herself, but then she would typically get a response from the judge that says, this is not, or at the next hearing, they would say, this is not the proper protocol. You have to prove to us why you think Ann Larson is ineffective counsel. And then we, the court, would then go to the public defender's office and try to find somebody to replace them. And it has to be pretty high cause. So it just doesn't make sense. So if Katrina Bauer filed that herself, I don't think it's going to go anywhere. If Ann Larson sent this, we don't see the letter to this attorney, and it's not a letter from the attorney. It's a letter to the attorney that somebody wrote and attached with this petition. And if that's the case, again, she could be asking for further co-counsel. And again, why are you looking outside of your office? Unless you're trying to maybe find somebody that maybe for bias reasons, but there's all these legal steps that have to typically come before you get to a place like that. I mean, well, she would have gotten a few months of probation, not going to trial, Sandy. So I don't know if I think she's trying to drag it out, Siobhan. I think that she wanted to go to trial from the beginning. And I don't believe that her attorney was able to convince her that it would be in her best interest to take the deal. And I think maybe there's a chance they're just butting heads. And Katrina could have done this, because we've seen defendants do this, where they start filing their own letters and documents above and over their attorney. And they say, well, hey, I want to go to trial. My attorney thinks I'm guilty, thinks I need to take this deal. She's not the best person to be representing me. Hey, I found somebody else, or, somebody she is talking to gave her the name of somebody else. And this is what we're doing. But I never thought she wanted to take the plea deal. And judging by, I still got to work on my client on a few things. Oh, we got to talk about this. It just told me she did not want to take that deal. And I think she would have got the few months probation, would have been more likely with the plea deal. Well, she doesn't exactly get to see what Jesse says, but at this point, Jesse's scheduled for trial. And there's pre-trial conferences and things like that. Could she be thinking what I was saying before, that, you take a plea deal, you look like a snitch, you get out of jail, and you could be in, harm's way. And, Jesse has associates, Jimmy Vu has associates. Does she feel that she's physically safer staying in jail and taking it to trial? Because even if she's convicted by trial, there's no way, then those other people can accuse her of snitching. And Siobhan, you're right. I mean, the plea deal usually does lay out what kind of sentence they're recommending to the court, and the state might have asked for more than she feels she could get by taking it to trial, because we talked about the penalties before, and even in the worst case, it's still not that much. But in her mind, she might have thought it was. But even, I mean, she'd have to, I mean, there's so many steps that still would have to be taken. And now you're talking about bringing in another attorney. And I don't know if that will even go anywhere. I really don't, because if she filed it, she, is overstepping, and then the judge is either going to send her a letter, or they're all going to be brought in on the next August 5th in the morning is the scheduling conference. Now, that might, sometimes they just wait until they're in front of you, and then they call you out in front of everybody and say, this is what you asked for. It's not going to happen, because that's just not the way it works. Obviously, her attorney would be registered to get copies of anything related to the case. So if this happened, then we might see more filings between now and the 5th. We might see the 5th get rescheduled. I know, I can't believe they can't find him, but he's just so tiny, and what a mess. It's just scary being by Lake Michigan and things like that. But, we talked the last time about, people that could move him, on behalf of Jesse. So, what else has happened is the neighbor, if that's where you are actually going to go, what you were asking about, Sandy, that's where I'm going next. The neighbor has picked up some more charges. Some more, and he had to get bailed out. And so then I had to do some digging into who bailed him out. And the guy who bailed him out has some financial type fraudulent cases. But he has this guy, if you just spell his name, you can switch out a letter, and some are filed under the wrong spelling, and some are filed under the correct spelling. So he picked up a bunch more bail jumping counts. Yesterday, there was a change of address notification filed for him, and asked the judge to seal the address again. And the judge for his case is the same judge for Katrina's. And it says party address sealed by Judge Dwayne. He is scheduled for his initial appearance on these charges at the end of August, because the public defender's office hadn't appointed counsel yet, and that was just within days of when he had been arrested. The defendant wrote a letter to the court asking for a modification of one of the non-monetary conditions of bail. The victim also filed a letter regarding this condition. The state indicates they need additional time to contact the victim before proceeding with arguments on this motion. So my guess is that he wants access to a victim. And looks like, who is he? So he was arrested, and he was given no contact orders against 3 other people, ranging from being born in 98 to 04 and 05. He did not furnish his bail. The probable cause statement was filed. Then they had an order to seal a document. Then he was bailed out by his alleged buddy, I guess. And then he submitted a letter to the court regarding the no contact order. And then one of the victims who were granted the no contact order, whether they asked for it or not, which could be a girlfriend, could be a friend, wrote a letter to the court regarding the no contact order. And that was 3 days after the defendant's letter. So could this be a girlfriend, a woman who's like trying to say, no, please let me see him, let me see him? It is so weird why they keep sealing the address. So initially, where was it? Yeah, he immediately filed, I think he immediately filed because there was order to seal document on July 1st. That could have been his request, but it maybe not. No, it wasn't. July 5th, order to seal party address, July 5th. And then July 26th, there was a change of address notification. And again, it was sealed by the judge. This is so bizarre that they are doing these address sealings, and it's the same judge overseeing his case that is overseeing the others. And there's just something so fishy about this to me. And when they talk about the 3 people with the no contact orders, it mentions staying away from their residences, plural. So those are charges that he picked up this month, and then last month was, oh, okay. So last month, there was the temporary restraining order was issued for domestic abuse and harassment. And same thing, filed an affidavit concerning sealing the address. The temporary restraining order was granted. However, neither the petitioner or the respondent showed up to that late June hearing. So the restraining order was dropped, and the petitioner's name is not shown. So he could have turned around and this quickly. Well, the neighbor, the person we're talking about, he's only so what? He was born in 99. So he's only 25. So the birth dates of the people on the most recent charges are 99 and early 2000s. So they can't be his kids. Not to say but not to say he couldn't have a girlfriend and that a girlfriend was part of one of those 3 people listed, and that the girlfriend is the one wanting to get the no contact order waived doesn't mean that she's not pregnant or has a kid with him that is a minor that maybe was not present, because there were the prior charges. Let's see. The May charges were, so that was the disorderly, bail jumping, theft, movable property. Oh, okay. So theft, movable property, and he's got a preliminary hearing for that September 3rd. And it's just fascinating because the guy that bailed him out of jail this month is the guy that committed an offense with him that he has a hearing for on September 3rd. Let's see. July 26th, he filed a change of address notification and asked to have his address sealed on this case as well. And there was an order to withdraw from his attorney, that he is terminating the services of one attorney and wants to go with a different attorney through the public defender's office. Here's the thing, Siobhan. Nobody's talking about this guy. Nobody is talking about this guy when they're covering. There's very little coverage of this case, and they're not talking about this neighbor. I have heard the 3 people theory, and it makes sense to me. Makes a lot of sense to me. So this guy also this week officially dropped his attorney and is getting a new one. Fascinating how these things are all so similar. Okay, he does have a child. He has a child. Here we go. No, here it all goes. We got it. Okay. So 2023, there was paternity related cases. So he does have a child, and the initials of the mother of the child match the initials of one of the 3 people that were given no contact orders on the offenses from this month. and it matched her initials, matched the initials of the no contact order that was written to the judge. So she wrote to the judge regarding the no contact order. So did the defendant. My guess is he's asking, okay, if I can't see her, but am I still able to see my child? Attorneys, if they're public defenders, court appointed, they can have, they all can have, I mean, they're all entitled to public defenders because they're not with a company. And as we saw in the trial of the shooter in the Michigan case, we did have two attorneys who split the defendants from the same firm. But let me see if the guy that he dropped was, I think he was just a public defender. Okay, so that one, he doesn't have a public defender yet. Okay, so the one that he is withdrawing, the attorney is withdrawn now, is Attorney Werner. And actually, that is a different judge on that case. So let's see if this attorney is a public defender or if he's private. Interesting. So he is also out of Sheboygan, which is the same city that I believe the attorney Katrina is looking for, trying to obtain. Come on. Let's hope he's just not. Why is it so hard to see what firm that they are with? Let's see. He's been licensed for 8 years. Okay, so that has him as a individual. Well, what's weird to me, Sandy, is they still have the vehicle impounded. So that's what I think. I think that they are not publicizing whether or not they got information from him. I think some of his cases are getting pushed out because they might be bargaining tools for him later. And I mean, I'm seeing some private, I'm seeing like private attorney posts, but I'm not seeing anything saying he is a public defender. I'm not saying he's not, though. I'm not going to go that far. Ooh. Wait, no. Okay. So they are going to let him withdraw, and they're going to appoint somebody else in that case. And then let's see. He's got so many charges, it's terrible. His March 2nd, 2023, where he has the 2 counts of B-class felony, first-degree child SAs, the 2 counts of trafficking, strangulation, suffocation, lewd and lascivious behavior. He has already been through 2 attorneys on that. He is due back in court the 31st of this month for a scheduling conference, and then August 7th for a status conference. And he moved again because here we go. Again, same date, July 26th, yesterday, across the board on all of his cases, he has filed another change of address with a request to seal the address again. So thank you, Sandy. I don't know if he's going to be a witness or he's going to be, well, yeah, I guess that would be what it'd be bargaining for, is to be a witness. Yes. But should he get off on these, they should not negotiate on these charges that I just read. They're heinous. And this case has been going on since, his bond hearing was March 1st of 2023. And the bail was initially set at $25,000 cash, absolute sobriety, no contact with anyone under the age of 18, with the exception of his own minor child, whose date of birth is 2018, and his unborn child, with the approval of DHS. So, okay, so he's probably since had a baby since then, and has a child that was born in 2018. So that was 6 years ago. So yeah, he obviously has not maintained the conditions of that bail. And why has he has picked up so many charges. Oh, defendant's address, if released, would be his great-grandmother's. Good Lord, put it on your great-grandmother, not even just your grandma, your great-grandma. That's craziness. His motion for bail to be modified and a court-appointed attorney were denied. Somebody wrote the court in March 20th that the defendant does not live at the address he has been using in the courts. He petitioned again for an appointment of attorney. That was again denied. So when did this jackwagon get out? All right, March 31st, somebody, oh, the baby's mother. Sure enough, baby's mother, Dolores, hello. The baby's mother bailed him out. $7,500 cash bail furnished, and he was released from custody to her home in Manitowoc. He's convicted, or I'm sorry, charged of those crimes. She bails him out, and almost, a little over a year and a half later, he's picked up multiple domestic incidents. How has he not been remanded back to jail for breaching the conditions of his bond? Oh. No. Okay. July 2023. Court will not address the topic of contact with his child at this point, as there had not been a formal paternity determination. Court modifies bond to remove the requirement that he reside with his grandmother and add the condition that he must reside with TM and NS, and the address given is the Mishicot apartment in Two Rivers. So it wasn't his place, that he was staying with other people. That's the building where Jesse Vang lived. So last year in July, he went to stay with these people. Oh man, I'm going to have to figure out who these people are. Oh my gosh. What? See, if you dig long enough, you just, the woman is 41. The woman he was staying with was 41, because she's the same age as me. So I mean, it's possible. What? I mean, so hold on. 25. I'm so bad with math at night. If she had him at 16, which honestly, teen pregnancy was at its highest ever in the 90s. It is totally possible that that could be his mom. I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying it's possible. I'm going to go back to that most recent case to see if those initials match. Nope. The initials of the other two people he's not allowed to see do not match the names of the two people he's not supposed to have contact with. Yeah, I mean, she could have had him. She would have been 16. So it's totally possible. Um, and then they did amend the motion allowing contact with his child. Okay, the defendant's son, July 8th, 2023. So his latest son, his son was born in July 8th of last year. Just really confused because they gave him a judgment for not paying his fines to the court, but then they turned around and did a scheduling conference for January 17th, a plea date for the 21st. Changed his address again on January 30th. He asked again for another attorney to withdraw so he could get another attorney. Um, Interesting. Here we go. March 14th, there was a motion hearing. The defendant filed a letter requesting a modification of bail, and he qualifies for a public defender but would like to proceed on this motion without counsel. He is requesting to be allowed to change residences due to the current situation in the community and a redaction of the new address from court records. The state informs the court of its concerns, however, leaves the decision up to the court. The court grants the motion, allowing him to move to an address, and that address will be redacted once it has been filed with the court. There you go. Have a good night, Miss Melody. There you go. The state informed the court of its concerns and left the decision up to the court. What concerns did the court have? Interesting. I'm going to have to start watching this guy's hearings, I think, so I can pick up on what the state's putting down, I guess, put it that way. Like, what kind of tone is it? Are they talking cryptically? Yeah, because he's got 2 hearings, a scheduling conference, and then the status conference. One's in front of the judge, one is not. So I will make note of these dates because I think something's up here. This is just something's fishy. So we're gonna keep an eye on him. Okay, didn't mean to go down such a big rabbit hole. Something is definitely not right there. So I don't know what is going to happen with Katrina next. At this point, she could, in my opinion, this could end up with another, 20-minute, 15, maybe less, hearing in front of the court where they're talking about the logistics of what is going on. But I really want to see what's going on. But I do think she's trying to take this to trial. If you're taking a plea bargain, I see no reason to change or add an attorney if you're taking the deal. And the deals are not forever. The deals can have timelines, and so I believe there was a deadline on that plea deal. Who was the? And then the attorney that she was trying to get is Kirk O'Bear. He has won 2 Kukler Nicholson Stilling Sensitive Crimes Awards, and is with Birdsall Law, and is supposed to be a very effective defense attorney. I don't think it's right that anybody should pay. I do think a trial would be worse for her as far as the punishment in the courts. But again, I'm just thinking, one, I don't think her mind's right. And in her mind, she absolutely might think she did nothing wrong. But also, again, do you want to ever be thought of by these other people who are very dangerous as somebody who snitched or gave information to get a deal? And, Jesse's not taking a deal. Now, he has such a background that they want to throw the book at him, and they want to yank him back on federal, his federal crimes. So, but the punishment is almost always worse. And honestly, is there anybody in Manitowoc County who doesn't know that Elijah's missing? I mean, that's going to sit on that trial and not, because we have discussed and reviewed, and I have on the playlist where I read all the documents. I mean, she's admitting openly in all these communications to exactly what she did. I mean, why even give a deal to someone when you have them? It's just, I mean, it's so much evidence. It's just terrible. So supposedly a scheduling conference August 11th. If new documents get filed in the meantime, I'll let you know. So, I think it just doesn't surprise me because I don't think she's right upstairs, and I do think she's entitled. Um, so jumping over to Sebastian Rogers, and it's part of why I titled things Nothing Changes If Nothing Changes. So anybody here that has been following the craziness this past week with Joe Petito and their posting of the stream that he was going to be a guest, and then they changed it to the Sebastian at SeaWorld, and you have another basically creator wars again. We lost him because these two creators threatened him. This one's totally off the handle. And I don't like knocking other creators, but I absolutely am not going to listen for 30 seconds even to BHB. Not going to do it. She is not playing with full deck, and very hypocritical. That's all I'm going to say. But would love your thoughts. Do you think that Joe Petito was threatened? Or do you just think if he had at one point agreed to some dialogue with them, that he just decided, I'm not going to be part of this shit show? Yeah. She done lost her mind a long time before this, but I don't know. Maybe it is entertaining. I mean, the popcorn and just sit and watch and laugh and all that. I mean, because I had to watch it at some point just to know, and certifiable. I think you're right, Siobhan. I don't think he wants to be involved in this. And what happened to Gabby was so heartbreaking. It was preventable. And their family has come a really long way in their journey in creating their foundation to do things. Yeah, DJ stresses a lot of us out just listening to that stuff. And I was surprised that he was going to participate. Because I think if he has any information, it would be just maybe some support more than anything, one-on-one to Seth, about, how you navigate maybe your emotions and things like that, and media, and while you're waiting for word, and then all the afters. Correct. And Gabby wasn't, she really wasn't in the end missing. I mean, there was a brief period where, she was claimed to have been missing. I don't think anybody believed she was missing. But it is definitely not the same story. There was, I would believe that he hadn't solidified the commitment, and um, there was wishful thinking put out there, um, because, Seth doesn't do the graphics. I think we all know that. Um, and he's been a lot quieter. I thought he was back to work, and that was why maybe it was really quiet. Um, but then what I gleaned was that when they did go live, he was, and somebody here tell me if it was said or wasn't that did watch the stream, um, that he was very agitated maybe, or annoyed, that Seth was annoyed at people talking about him not going back to work. I could be wrong. I did not watch it, um, because I know we're not getting any news. So I have said I'm not going to help them grow a channel. That whole crowd, they're trying to grow a true crime channel, and the name, the channel, everything, it's all going to be stolen in the end. So, um, well, I know he had his surgery, and he, you know, or was this a second surgery? Is this a surgery he had before and then? Okay, so he was kind of agitated and said he'd go back to work when the doctor released him for duty. Makes sense, I guess. He had surgery, doctor says. So that's why, they have the. Yes, I am in the group run by what seem to be some people that do have their hearts in the right place. Maybe they're a little too biased, maybe, or just maybe too much heart, honestly. And then there are, uh, you know, but yes, you can tell it's a very one-sided group. But some of the groups are very one-sided. But the group is definitely a Tony fan club, uh, um, at the heart of it. Siobhan, I know that he had his surgery, and then he had that first they did their first show on his channel, and that was after his surgery. And then there was the boat search thing where the news, and they had him on where Tony videoed and took pictures of him on the boat, and then they had a little news thing. Yeah, and I really haven't seen or heard anything from them since that news thing happened with the boat and everything, until this stream happened, which I did not watch. um, but the only reason I noticed that, I was just blown away. I'm like, wait a minute, how do you go from Joe Petito to Sebastian at SeaWorld? And obviously I knew Sebastian wasn't literally at SeaWorld right now. So then I'm like, okay, well, so what, are they going to show pictures of him from when he had a vacation at SeaWorld or something? Yeah, I don't know. If I was he could obviously probably do desk duty, potentially, if he is able to be on a boat and he is able to do shows. But I don't really know what is happening on the in-between time, or what. Um, so Dolores, were the questions live questions that Tony was asking? Because I know that there was a huge gap between the first show and the second show. And this second show, they said they were going to answer questions from the first show, which was a long time ago now. So, certain questions might not be applicable. Um, I had been digging through notes, and, I just hadn't really wanted to do, I guess I just hadn't felt like there was a reason to go live on this with him, because I have seen some obscene amounts of new channels, all covering Sebastian, and all the old channels are still covering, or I don't want to say covering him, but they're going through things and stuff like that. No, they have not. And Chris and Katie have not been public recently, but amen. Praise God. Faith is back home now with her mom. Hallelujah. So that is something to be grateful for. So it was just, I don't know. I just kind of felt like, well, everybody's got to be just their feeds and videos like piling up on everything that everybody's doing, covering him right now. Was he dating anybody? What? Was Sebastian dating somebody, or asking Seth if he was dating anybody? That's ridiculous. Like, what a waste of space. I'm sorry to report that my trend on, TBI, Sumner County, why aren't you searching, all of that didn't become a trend, didn't go anywhere. So that tells me there's a lot of people who really just don't feel like pressing them to do what they should be doing. That's stupid. Who cares if Seth's dating? I don't really care. I mean, that's just, why would someone waste? Jeez Louise. Unbelievable. And so that thought process didn't catch on. There's been a lot of back and forth. I thought some time ago that TBI took the lead on the case. One of my loyal listeners, Ginger, had, made a comment. She thought that was not the case. I couldn't really remember why I thought that. I thought I had heard it, whether it was like early on, and like from Jen Koffendorfer had maybe said that, or one of the PIs. I just couldn't place where I recall learning that. And I have so many notes. And then I saw Don B called, and that was information he had said he got. And then I saw Nick Barris post that, well, no, it is Sumner County. They just are partnered, like getting some help from TBI. I guess to me, in the end, it doesn't matter, because they're not doing anything. They're not searching for him. Well, of course they pick the questions. It's stupid. They probably disabled his ability to even see the chats, or they will. So I had this, let's see. I'm going to see if you guys can catch it also. So I did go to this replay of the Terry Lynn phone call. the secret recorded phone call. And because I was going through my notes and I was just like, this was such a gotcha moment. But again, I'm not listening to all these channels. There's so much. And well, I don't know what everybody thinks, Sandy, but I can tell you that I believe that the mom is definitely responsible, and there are potentially step family members that are also responsible. But if this, Sandy, is a newer case to you, there's so much to this case. And there is a whole Sebastian Rogers playlist. Whoa. And it would be fascinating to go through all that from the beginning and watch the evolution of thoughts and opinions. But I want you guys, I'm going to play, it's going to be like 7 minutes because I can't remember exact minute it fell, but it's in the 7-minute window in my notes. Interesting, DJ. I gotta make myself a note about that, to look into that. So I am going to play this, and I want to see if you guys catch it, and maybe other people on shows have it, but I can't remember if I pointed this out way back when the call originally happened, which has been now, it's been a couple months. So I want to see if you guys heard what I heard. And again, excuse me if this has been over covered. But this was like super bolded in my notes. And sometimes there were so many things about that phone call. That I can't say for sure if I did this or not. And I'm going to get a drink of water because, let's see. Okay. And let's see.
Same thing I told the cops.
But the dog's scent stopped at that door at one point.
But the cops asked him, what do you think happened?
So the dogs are wrong. Or y'all have the wrong dogs were brought. I don't know. And I know that
your question is actually
no, they did
correct.
say that the dog. Well, they said, listen, what they put out was that, and I'll go find it and read it all over again. They said that the dogs stopped. It stopped at the door. Then another one says that it stopped at the damn dumpster through where the new construction is. Which one is it? I don't know. Because it's two different stories told.
Exactly, and neither one of them are remotely true.
So which one is it? Because they're not. Nothing's adding up.
So here's what I can tell you. So day one, they had at least 5 dogs that started out. Mm-hmm. Now
I see the dogs. I did see the dogs.
So throughout the 8 days that they were searching, mm-hmm. I can't tell you how many dogs they brought in. They brought dogs in from out of state, different counties, all over the place.
Knox County had their dogs out there. I can probably name a lot of the counties that did have their dogs out there in action.
Okay. So they had their dogs out here. But anyways, several dogs hit in some directions. Some headed over in the construction. Takes it down to the retention pond. which is only knee deep, and they drained it, and they didn't find anything, and that's where the scent disappears.
I do remember that. Because they did bring them in there. I do remember that one. Because they were suiting up out there close to the house or right up in front of it.
Well, they suited up out in front of the house because they went down. They went down those storm drains.
Yes, I remember that.
Thank you, Brown Eyed.
A lot that has happened.
Oh no, trust me.
Trust me.
And they did drain.
That's going to be a good soundbite.
The retention pond, yes.
Yes. Did they ever check up Mount Olivet Road?
Where?
Mount Olivet Road.
Mount Olivet. Where is that at exactly?
Okay, turn by Worshams.
Okay.
Turn on Latimer Lane.
Okay, gotcha.
And then turn on to. You will turn left onto Mount Olivet Road.
I don't know. They said they expanded the search up to a 5-mile radius from the house.
They need to search there.
I'm guessing that's within the 5-mile radius.
I don't think no, it's not.
Okay, then I don't know.
They need to, honestly.
Well, here's the thing. So there's another. They brought out a company called EquiSearch. EquiSearch,
Yeah.
I think.
Did they bring the one out of Texas?
I think.
No, they brought.
He doesn't give a damn.
Texas, Texas. They got the one in the western part of it, and that's Tennessee. They need Texas.
Well, so the group that came here was kind of a mix. So we had one, she was from Tennessee. I guess the other ones were like Ohio or something, but all the program and everything comes out of Texas from what I understood. And they used their drones. They flew around various places. Like a long.
His wife is sleeping. Put all this together, folks.
You know how much Sebastian weighs?
Yes. Well, at his last doctor's visit, he weighed 113 pounds.
Why did they think that he weighed 120?
I have no idea. We've kind of gone back and forth with TBI and them as far as like what they put out. They put out like he's a.
Okay, I think they're about to talk about it now. I don't believe EquiSearch did come. I thought EquiSearch only came or offered to come. Well, that might have been Texas. His wife supposedly was sleeping in the camper while he's having this call, and it was really gross because he was there's a lot of innuendo, let's put it that way. But I also believe Cajun Navy was part of the Riley Strain search, which oddly enough, I have something to show you that was so bizarre on that. But I think they're about to ask the question.
120 pounds. No, he's 113 pounds. They put out he was wearing a black sweatshirt. He's not in a sweatshirt. When based on what the mom put out, the clothes that she said he had on that are not accounted for.
Okay, right there. He says, based on what the mom put out, the clothes that she said he had on that are not accounted for, he makes multiple references to based on the clothing description she put out. Not what most would say. Well, the last thing she saw him wearing was this outfit, which is what most people would say. Well, I laughed when he went to bed. This is what he was wearing. That's the last thing I saw him in. But no, he won't say that, and she won't say that. They're just saying based on what she told the police. And that's the way this is why I believe it's scripted. And by lying, by basically omitting or using, he's not taking ownership of what he was wearing, and he's not taking ownership of Katie's statement. He's saying, well, based on Katie's, statement.
It's kind of like it's not a sweatshirt, it's not a hoodie, it's like a long sleeve black shirt.
I have the call. I mean, I can play it
Yes,
for you.
DJ.
Why is he so adamant? What
was weird?
Sweatshirt, long sleeve T-shirt.
No, I mean, I'm just telling you what I know. I mean, I'm not.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying because it was a 6:39 phone call. And it was confusing. I'm not gonna lie, because me personally, I would be slapping 911 real quick. And but you've already explained all that and why y'all did not do that. Get it? That's why. But to me, a lot of things didn't add up with the story because of the bed, cooking, making his breakfast. Because I would have seen him if I'm walking this away when I'm.
Okay, I've said that, she would have walked past him if he was cooking in the kitchen or making a bowl of cereal. So, I went back and in my notes, like that was just one of the things that I had highlighted and I had it bolded that this is, he repeatedly does this. And in the second interview with Duchess, it was about an hour and 40 minutes. And Chris was asked about Sebastian being afraid of him. And he used Sebastian's name. And that was might have been the first time in that whole interview, we're an hour and 40 minutes in, that he used his name. And again, he refers to Sebastian often as the boy, the young man. When he's lying, I believe he doesn't say his name. Same with Katie. When he's lying, the wife, based on what his mother said, like a detachment. And when he was asked about Sebastian being afraid of him, and he used his name, and he responded by saying, "This is a loaded question. Teenage children are not going to like you. You're there to be their parent. If they don't, there's consequences." He will say one day he is upset, later apologize and say he loves him. So when you get in trouble, of course, you don't like your parents. People have their thoughts, opinions, and assumptions, but knowing the facts are one thing, assumptions are different. And I noted that there was not a direct denial that Sebastian feared him or was afraid of him. He didn't directly just say, no, he was not afraid of me. And then he says, you mentioned domestic violence. There are some folks who decided to go online and pull public records. Domestic violence, if I had domestic violence in my background, I wouldn't have certain credentials that I have because you're not legally allowed to. Domestic violence, no. Protective order, yes. Okay, my thoughts, he still did not deny that he committed domestic violence. He didn't deny that he was an abuser. All he did was say, if I had a domestic violence in my background, a conviction in essence, so I believe he technically wouldn't be lying about his background because he doesn't have a conviction. And his story was, an event took place while I was holding my daughter, and when the event took place, I filed for an immediate protection order against her. Court made decisions, gave the daughter back to mother. She jumped in her truck, flew to New Mexico, and filed the exact same document against me in New Mexico. So everything that people are reading, it's a court document. But what you don't know are the things that are happening in court, and you don't read the transcripts. If people want to ask, I'm willing to tell you. Yeah, I still have a current case in New Mexico. Ask people to refrain from bringing it up as it has no bearing. False information, called into law enforcement, calling in, pointing the finger at the stepfather. This is all stuff he said. Again, he never, in his statement about what happened between him and Nina, ever denied directly that he did not hurt her. Never. No direct denials. And then the police at that time are claiming, I have told everybody from the beginning, all three parents have been extremely cooperative, absolutely nothing to point to foul play. Interrogations and I'm sorry, this was Chris saying this. Interrogations and polygraphs, all these things have been done. Then he says, it was a direct question. Have you guys been given polygraphs? Chris responds, and this is the Duchess interview. The results are passed. Later, we know on Nancy Grace, he said he did not take a polygraph. But then he explains Nina's situation. Again, he didn't say that, he did not say that Nina harmed him. He said she didn't like the answer. She connected and slapped me across the face. If you can do that while a man is holding a child, it was all a very confusing thing. Then another minute later in this interview, he says, he was asked, the results of the polygraphs were that you passed. Was that both of you, or can you say? Again, let me repeat, directly asked at an hour and 46 minutes. The results of the polygraphs were that you passed. Was that both of you, or can you say? And his answer was, yes. And they repeated, so you both taken polygraphs. This was a live interview on March 22nd. The Nancy Grace interview air date where he denied taking a polygraph was March 25th, 8 minutes into the interview. He was offered one, he deflected, we saw that. He said, I offered to take one for law enforcement. They said it wasn't necessary. An hour and 50 minutes. What do you mean you haven't seen Sebastian since early February? Chris replied, this is one of the details of the investigation he can't give information on. I wish I could. Eventually down the road, it can come out. The answer is early February was the last time I saw Sebastian, and no, I was not home when all of this took place. I went back to Nashville later in the afternoon. I was on the phone with police the majority of the time until I physically got there. He does this often when they're lying, where they will say they did it with the shoes when she was in the back, when Katie was kind of like, I don't know, next to the phone, and he was like, they want to know about the shoes, or somebody asked about the shoes, and she was, we can't give that information. I have to go back to listen where he slipped up explaining the three-way call, because I have a note to myself to go back and re-listen, because he slips up. Then he's asked, do y'all have camera footage in your home? And he says, that is information we cannot divulge at this time due to the ongoing investigation. You said you don't have cameras. You've said you had cameras. Then you say you can't divulge that information. He was asked about the key, if there was a key, and he says he can't answer that due to the ongoing investigation. Yet he did answer that question on Nancy Grace. And then again, they want to know, the chat, they want to know if you definitely took a poly and passed. They felt like you got cut off. And he went into total word salad about, it's just what he does. I closed it. I'll never remember to go back now. So now we have Faith is back home. So now is the time where I think the ground would start being laid to see if what I had said before is going to happen, if they're going to lay the groundwork for moving permanently out of that area and starting life over because I think they're watching for the attention. And now there are a couple people who are now back out there physically searching, or doing drives and videoing, between the job site and Hendersonville. But overall, I think that there is a lot of, there's just a lot of nothing. And this is, I think, the time where they're going to start looking at renting or selling the house, getting out of the area. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's looking into job transfers. Who knows how long that job at St. Jude was supposed to last, and where they're going to go. Is he going to is he going to try to get into New Mexico, and be closer, to be able to see Faith more often? There's a lot of belief that there's a lot of belief that, you know, he's, it's alleged he didn't want Sebastian around Faith. So you would think the natural step would be to try to be with Faith more. So I think we are going to see them start laying their groundwork to go out of the area. I don't know what Seth is going to do, other than I think he's just going to maintain, as long as he has people around him to engage with. I think he will. I wish he would go back to work, because I think he needs the distraction from Tony and all of those associates. Custody of Faith. Yeah, I mean, it looks like he is still trying to actively pursue the custody. But, she was returned to mom, I imagine, to begin the school year. So if she's going to be going to school in New Mexico, if they want more custody than, than they have now, other than like school breaks, then he really needs to be closer in proximity. It sounds like it doesn't make sense, but it makes total sense. I mean, Sebastian was a liability to Chris, in the sense that I don't believe Nina was holding Sebastian against Chris, but in Chris's mind, he was a problem. All of the people involved have very bizarre, unusual life histories. And the reality is the answers only come when Sebastian's found and nobody's looking. So he is going to be right. Faith did like him, but when you have somebody who is a minor and who survived what and was assaulted like Sebastian was, you get sick, twisted thoughts in your head that that's going to be repeated. I agree, Dolores. I think he needs to go back to work, and even if it was, maybe not on his full schedule, but in some way start easing back into work, and have some degree of normalcy. And with his spare time, he needs to be, searching. And nothing's changed because nothing's changed, because it is still taboo for all of the parents involved to bring in legitimate resources with large scale teams to help. So, in my opinion, the parents aren't doing right by a missing child when they're not seeking out. And we have heard of many large scale, reputable nonprofit organizations that have put their hand out offering to help and come, and they don't want it. They don't want it. They don't, you know, who cares who somebody can try to solicit to chat with you on YouTube when you need manpower and technology and tools. That's what's needed. Well, DJ, I think he was done with Katie. I think he was going to be done with Katie. And after this, they're in a way, they're stuck together. And I think they just know too much. And the only way one of them is going to spill the beans is if the other cracked, maybe, even if they got divorced. Well, there are organizations, Sandy, who they will only come in if law enforcement or the family say, yes, we want you here. And regardless of the offers, they don't accept them. And the smaller ones that try, they just end up being ripped apart all over YouTube and they go away. But larger organizations like Texas, EquiSearch, Q, NCMEC, that kind of stuff, they're not going to be pushed around by a bunch of YouTubers or, locals or anything. So no, but police stopped, TBI stopped, everybody stopped immediately looking, and what little remained was just insufficient. And, as soon as big resources were starting to come in, Chloe was fired. If anybody recalls, I believe she was trying to find a place that could house or hotel that would be able to fit enough for help to come in. Fired. So now you're just stuck talking on YouTube. And there's just so little hope that he's going to be found unless it's a sheer accident that somebody just accidentally stumbles upon him at this point. Because they're not stepping it up, and everybody should be ashamed of themselves for not supporting law enforcement and pushing them and rallying everybody to get them on the ground again. And they should be ashamed of themselves for not accepting the large scale resources, and those that chose to leave state and go on summer vacation and spring vacation and putz around and barbecue in a campground, while Chris worked some of the time, should be ashamed of themselves. And I don't know if the problem with Chris McDonough is that if you watched, some of his coverage of it, even on his own channel, but also when he did that on the lab, he's got a full plate, and he was not, while he was able to kind of talk about the case and there was some interesting perspective, it was clear that they were not really entrenched in what a mud pit this had become. And basically, based on Seth's own behavior and the behavior of the parents, the other parents, nobody wants to give them information or tie themselves to it. And especially when it's possible that 2/3 of the equation are directly involved in the disappearance, you certainly aren't trying to throw any help out anymore when you think, well, I don't want to put myself with somebody who had something to do with his disappearance, because that is just what this looks like. From a psychological perspective, I believe that answers could be gotten in Elijah's case, Sandy, from Katrina, but that is going to take some serious psychological work. In Sebastian's case, I think it makes me sick to say that there is a chance that they're just going to continue to get away with it. Thank you so much, Siobhan. Well, that would be fine and well, but to determine that in a week, DJ, it doesn't even, and to stop searching for a missing teenager with special needs and a medical condition after a week is unacceptable. And even if they don't believe he's not around Hendersonville, with TBI, they can go anywhere in Tennessee. So there's no excuse. And you watch all these other, people going missing in Tennessee, and then you watch some of the ones that get found, and it just, when it is a stranger, they're found pretty quickly. When it's an accident, they're found pretty quickly. It is. I mean, Don and Candace are just, talk about getting away with so much. And it was just so bizarre to me because I didn't realize that the daughter, Rose, which is Summer's aunt, I didn't know they had, she's got that she went missing in Wisconsin. I didn't know that. And it does not look like it was. It looks like it's likely the father of her child might have had something to do with that. But I did not know that I knew Summer's aunt went missing, but I didn't know that it happened in Wisconsin. Yeah, I did not know that. And so when I was reading, Dolores, through the custody for the kids, it was so bizarre reading like, oh, we're supposed to go to court again, and well, she just disappeared. Oh, interesting. Fast. Yeah, okay. But I don't think it's a similar situation like similar to what happened this summer. I don't think the same thing happened. But nonetheless, I didn't know that she disappeared in Wisconsin. But there, I've said this before, there's things they said on interviews that they should be in jail for, that Don should be in jail for. But before I go, I found this bizarre. So for anybody who didn't already learn this, did any of you guys learn about this bizarre girl who went missing and came out of the water where Riley Strain went missing? Totally totally odd and bizarre, because they say it was just alcohol and pot in his system, and that's it. So okay, good. I'm bringing something to the table here. Then this is bizarre. Okay, so this was just a day ago. This was published. A woman who went missing was found crawling up the same riverbank where Riley Strain lost his life this spring. Alexandria Schmel, 33, traveled to Nashville with a friend. They got separated in the middle of the night. Her friend reported her missing around 3:40 in the morning. The lost woman was separated from her friend before 2 a.m. The search for her began 20 minutes later. Despite being missing for only a few hours, her story quickly went viral due to its shocking similarities to the case of missing college student Riley Strain. Luckily for her, her story ended well. She was spotted finally around 9 a.m. at the Gay Street connector, climbing up from the riverbank with scratches and lacerations. She was taken to Vanderbilt University Medical Center for evaluation. When she went missing, her friend said she was last seen on downtown cameras near the Woodland Street Bridge and First Avenue. The footage showed her wandering the streets before she vanished. Metro Police and Nashville firefighters used manpower, helicopter, and drone in their efforts to locate the New Jersey woman. During the search, listen to this. This is so bizarre. During the search, they discovered her shoes and cell phone down an embankment. Investigators believe that at some point she mysteriously ended up in the river. However, she told officers she does not remember how or why she ended up there, but she managed to pull herself out. Riley, a 22-year-old college student, vanished after last being seen at various bars in downtown Nashville, only for his body to be discovered in the Cumberland River. And of course, they just reiterate that, as what his blood alcohol level was in THC. So another situation, same embankment to the river, no shoes, no phone. Well, they were lost and they were found separately. So similar, and the same embankment location. And she doesn't know how she got in there, but she came to and got out. It's bizarre. I wasn't super accepting of either autopsy. Well, not the autopsy results, but like the final conclusion. But I mean, if the family accepts it, they do. But I read this today and I was like, oh my gosh, 2 in the same spot. Like if she hadn't come to, like she would have been gone too. Unreal. And however that embankment is, I think they need to put like a big old concrete wall or a big tall wrought iron fence or something, because if these are accidents and they're happening like this, or you have people who are drinking and wandering around, like, you shouldn't. That's ridiculous. You need to do something. Something should have been done. Yes, in cameras. Yeah, great suggestion, DJ. I mean, seriously, more cameras and a barrier, some kind of barrier. If you have repetitiveness, oh, Ladybird Lake in Austin. Oh gosh. Now I'm gonna have to do some digging into that. But yeah, I just wanted to share that with you guys. I just absolutely couldn't believe it. I mean, it absolutely could be, they're getting roofied, or just flat out could be overserved. And sometimes when you're young and you go to the bars and you're with friends, and I've seen people, I've seen girls and guys and a girl, and they're sharing drinks, or they'll grab one out of their hand and just whoosh, and so one could have been meant for somebody else, and they didn't know that other person drank it, and they weren't paying attention to that person who just wandered out. But I also think they need to be looking more into how people are being served in these bars. And I mean, if you have a place where people are habitually, but I mean, I imagine it happens at like Sturgis, Mardi Gras, Vegas, Wisconsin is one of the biggest drinking capitals in the world. These people get so wasted, and it's crazy when, that they get separated, and that's something I think, we don't want to have the conversation with our kids, at teens and things like that, or at college levels. But I mean, I think it's very important that, we do what we can as parents and just tell our kids, I don't want you doing this, but the odds are you're going to go do it, and you're not going to tell us about it, every time you're going out and getting wasted and whatever. But always have a buddy. Always have a buddy. Always make sure somebody's getting the other home. But, I mean, sometimes when people drink, they're going to take their keys from you and drive, no matter what you do. There are people who will just say F you, and they'll start walking, and, there's just sometimes not so much that you can do, other than maybe call the police and say, look, my friend is plastered and they're trying to walk, and I just want somebody to make sure they get home safe. But, that's just something I will definitely be telling my daughter when she gets older. Like, everything you do, don't separate from your friend, so, because we can't be everywhere with them. And that should be the case. I mean, it should be, leave with who you came with. And, but like in Riley's case, one person gets bounced out of the bar, the other ones are drinking too, and they don't want to leave yet. But not one of them could have went with them. Not one. Let me just get him back to the hotel. We're in a strange city, you know? Not one person could have just saw him into an Uber and said, we're staying at this address, get him home safe. Yeah, I don't know. It's sad, but I don't know. A lot of these cases are just getting so cold, in my opinion, and I'm surprised, like how much stuff that can be continued to be gone over, but I sure hope that there's some answers, because winter does not bode well for the missing. It doesn't, regardless of your climate. So I hope that there are some, even once a week on large scale search efforts. I don't know. It's sad. But even though I hate to say this, because I'm, not there in Tennessee on the ground, but, there are some that are there on the ground in Tennessee, and, some of them are searching on an individual level. And I just wish maybe they would use their platform, since they're there, to, connect with their local followers, to see if they would participate and get some more people with them on the ground. You don't know if you don't ask, but I know that some of these people have had their channels before this, and before this case, and a lot of the people that follow them are in the state, and probably also have family, friends, and connections in the state. So they don't have to go it solo if they don't want to. But it's just sad. It's sad when the parents aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing for their missing either. And poor Elijah, as both his parents are sitting in jail. So, I mean, what is that? So, I guess at this point, we are going to be seeing what is going on with the letter to the petition to the judge, and the letter regarding a possible new or additional attorney in Katrina Bauer's case. Nothing new as of today was filed or as of yesterday was filed in Jesse Vang's case. So I assume he's just forging right ahead to the, I think it was status conference, but I do know by that time they should have been able to go through this additional evidence. In Jesse's case, we're just kind of curious as to what is the extra evidence. So hopefully at one of these hearings, they'll maybe give us a little more insight into what extra evidence they've been piling on there. And maybe that has something to do with what's going on with Katrina as well. We'll find out. So we'll see what steps come for both of them in this awful case. If I get any news in the meantime before their hearings, I will let you know. And then with Sebastian, we're just gonna, I guess we're waiting and seeing if anything happens. But at this point, I'm more so waiting to see what they're gonna do. with their living situation. I do not believe that they will ever go back to permanent residence in Hendersonville. Don't think it's going to happen. They'll never be able to live a normal life staying there. And they want to bury this. So, yeah. So I appreciate everybody tuning in. Sorry I haven't been on as frequent, but I mean, if there isn't new news, I'm not going to make it up. So there you go. But I do know that sweet Siobhan was just making sure I was okay. And so, yes, I am okay. I just, if there wasn't anything new to report, then I have nothing. So, but thank you all for tuning in. And hopefully we will get some answers, at least with the situation with Katrina over the next week or two. And I will definitely bring that to you as soon as we got it. And we'll just stay tuned. And I will talk to all of you guys soon. Hopefully you get some sleep and have a great evening. And until next time. Oh, and I will dig into the neighbors. I will be observing the neighbors' hearings too, to see what we can piece together with that. I just wanted to add that. So, all right, guys, have a great night.